Elizabeth Tracy May Wettlaufer is a former registered nurse, who confessed to murdering 8 senior citizens, and attempting to murder 6 others in southwestern Ontario between 2007 and 2016. With a total of 14 victims, either killed or injured by her actions, she is described as one of the worst serial killers in Canadian history. Elizabeth was born and raised in Sora Township, a rural community near Woodstock, Ontario. Growing up in a staunchly Baptist household, she went on to earn a bachelor's degree in religious education counseling from London Baptist Bible College, then studied nursing at Conestoga College. In 2007, Wettlaufer was hired onto the staff at Caressant Care, a long-term care home in Woodstock. She was initially regarded by co-workers as caring and professional. However, throughout her tenure, Wettlaufer struggled with substance abuse and alcoholism. She faced accusations of showing up to work drunk, and at one point was found passed out in the facility's basement during the night shift. Wettlaufer was suspended 4 times for medication-related errors, then was finally fired in March 2014 over a serious incident, in which she gave the wrong medication to a patient. After leaving Caressant Care, Wettlaufer had difficulty holding down a job. She was hired by the Meadow Park Care Centre in London, but lost this job after checking herself into a drug rehab facility in Niagara. She took various temp jobs at other care homes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
There's too many people moving and shaking around here, and you can't really keep track of who's doing what. So yeah, like I said, I'm just going to go through for everything in this room is audio and video recorded first off. You okay with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I just want to go through, like I said, a couple formalities, cover a few little things off, things that I have to do on my end that I need to do, and things that I just want to tell you and make sure that we're all on the same page before we get going.
Okay.
Okay? So, first off, today is Wednesday, October the 5th, 2016, and on my phone right now, I'll just use that as a time reference. It's 5:14.
Okay.
So 17:14, we'll just use that as a start time of our conversation here today. Again, my name is Nathan Hergott with the Woodstock Police Service. I currently work in our crime unit.
Okay.
And we met a short time ago in downtown Toronto, correct?
Yes.
Right. You were trying to push you into making a statement. Whatever they said, I don't want that to influence you in any way. Okay?
No, what I'm about to say, I'm giving up my own free will.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate that. And we'll get moving forward. For another few things, and I know that we said this in the car, you are not under arrest right now.
Okay.
Okay, I want to make that very clear to you.
Okay.
Okay, you're not under arrest. The door is unlocked. Okay, I'm not impeding your way to the door. If you want to leave at any time, if you want to stop talking to me at any time, you just let me know, and we'll just carry on from there.
Okay.
Okay, but you're not being held here against your will. We're not forcing you to speak to us. We just have some follow-up questions from the investigation that kind of got going while you were in Toronto.
Yeah, being interviewed is hard because it takes so long.
It does.
So I'll do my best. Like I said, if I have to get up and pace around a bit or whatever.
If you want to take a break at any time, you let us know. If you want to get up and pace around, I'll just kind of hang tight here and we'll just keep conversing as long as you're comfortable.
I'll go as long as I can.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. That's kind of all the formalities, but like I said, those are the things that I just wanted to make sure that we're clear to you. And if you have any questions for me before we get started, the floor is yours. If there's anything or any concerns that you have.
No, I want to get through this and find out what happened to my mom and dad, because I know they're upset because someone went to visit them today.
Okay.
And visited them today, and they said, they're here, we're concerned, what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. And I honestly don't have those answers for you, but I can get them for you. My role in this investigation so far has been not as in-depth as some of the other officers.
Okay.
But my task today obviously was to travel to Toronto and meet with you with my fellow coworkers.
Yeah.
And come back here and have a conversation, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I can definitely get those answers for you, and I don't want to upset any more people that need to be, especially your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Okay?
You should have bought blue chip tickets when you were there.
You know what? If I could afford them for the playoffs, I probably would have. Yeah, that was exciting last night. So just for the record, and I know you prefer to go by Beth, is what you told us,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
Can you just state your full name for me?
Elizabeth Tracy May Wettlaufer.
Tracy May?
Yep.
Okay, and just spell your last name for the record.
Wettlaufser.
Perfect. And Beth, the reason why we're here today is because we've received some information back at the end of last week with regards to some information that was provided to the Toronto Police Service, which has led us into quite a bit of work, and leads us here today to speak to you with regards to kind of how this all started and follow up. But basically, I've watched your statement that you provided to Toronto.
Okay.
Okay, and we've been provided this document here. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
All right, and from what I can see here, there's 4 pages of a handwritten document. Is that your handwriting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and it just kind of goes through some people that you've encountered in your career from 2007 through to 2016 of August.
Yeah.
August of 2016. Okay, so your brother older or younger than you?
Older.
Older.
He's 3 years older than me. He's 52.
Right on. Good. So as far as your latest position at St. Elizabeth,
Yeah.
that was your last position as a RN, is that
Yes,
correct?
it was.
Okay,
Yes.
and you said you resigned from there?
Yeah.
Okay, what brought you to that?
That's where things get a little crazy.
Okay.
This is part that I haven't told the doctors. Because it seems so stupid now. When my ex and I broke up in 2007, I was already taking the medication for my borderline personality disorder. And I was so angry. And it was like a voice said inside me, I'll use you, don't worry about it. And the different times that I have caused people's deaths or caused them discomfort through the insulin, I believe it was the influence of that voice or whatever it was. It wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. And when I would do it, afterwards I would hear like a laughter in my chest. So, started working for St. Elizabeth, and I was doing well, but it was a lot of pressure. And the way that, that I've helped people to die has been through insulin. And after my 30-day evaluation, my supervisor came to me and said, I'm really sorry. We wanted you for Woodstock, but we have so many kids in schools in Ingersoll that need help with their insulin pumps that you're going to start working in Ingersoll.
Okay.
And I panicked. I didn't want to do that. Because I felt, what if? Those are kids. So I think it was about a week after that I quit. Yeah. And then I packed my stuff in the car, and I drove 2 days into Quebec, thinking like I would just start a runaway sort of thing. And then I thought, no, that's just stupid. So I came back, and I was going to tell my parents what was going on, but they had visitors from Scotland. So I didn't tell them, I just, spent 2 weeks pretending to go to work.
Okay.
While the visitors from Scotland were here.
Right.
It's funny, but it's not funny. And then, once they left, I decided I didn't want to nurse anymore. I didn't want to hurt anybody anymore. So I also quit my other job. And then I decided, well, whatever Friday that was, that, like, I did a lot of looking into how I could get help, because I realized I needed help with whatever this was.
Right.
Because part of me had started to believe that it was the devil, and part of me thought it might be God with a purpose through my life. And I know the doctor asked me those questions, but I didn't answer them because I was so ashamed. But I just, I didn't want this to keep going on, so I quit both jobs. Looked into where I could get help. Dr. Fernando is my psychiatrist, and he's not a very nice man. So I went on an online support group and was talking to people on there, and they were saying, you know, get some help. So then I started researching some psych boards and stuff, and I saw CAMH, and they are the only mental health facility in Ontario that has an emergency department.
Okay. So
I made a decision, and I went there one Friday morning. I took the train, and off I went. And before I went, I told 3 people what was going on. My friend from AA, and my friend, I told them what was going on. They said, yes, go and get help. And my friend drove me to the train station.
And when you say you told them what was going on, did you get into details of why you were going to seek help, or?
I told them that I had been killing people using an insulin overdose. And they all said, yes, you better go get help. So off I went.
Okay. And?
She's a friend from when I used to work at.
Okay. All right. Your last name? Okay. And she drove you to the train station on the Friday morning?
Yeah.
To the Woodstock train station?
Yep.
Okay. And then your other friend?
Is my cousin.
Okay. And she's a cousin of yours?
Yeah, she lives in BC.
Okay. And if you don't want to tell me, that's fine, based on the reason why this person may or may not be a friend, but your AA friend.
My AA friend, yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you her first name, but
okay.
Otherwise it's confidentiality.
And I don't want to dig into that at this point. That's not a problem at all. So did you disclose the same thing to all those 3 people?
That I had been giving insulin overdoses. I didn't say why, because at that point I felt so stupid. It just felt so stupid.
And Beth, to be honest with you, I admire the way that you're conducting yourself and telling us and having this conversation with me. I thank you for that. And I'm not here to judge in any way.
I know.
So I want you to know that. And I'm not a doctor. I know you spent a lot of time at CAMH the last 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm far from a doctor, but I do appreciate you telling me the truth and telling me the way that these things happened and played out.
Yeah.
And I admire you for that.
And it's, it's been a while because I've been stewing about, like, do I give the names of the people that I killed?
Right.
Because then here's 8 families that thought that their family member died peacefully and normally, and they didn't. And what's that going to do to those families?
Right.
And even up to going to the hospital, I decided I was just going to give the first names. And my cousin said, listen, they know what years you worked there. If you don't tell them the exact names, they're going to go in there and go over every single file. And that's going to be even worse for the families there.
Right.
So that she was the one to give me that advice, to give the names.
Okay. And as far as you know, have these people reached out to any of the police agencies where they may reside to notify that you told them this? Or
No.
Did you tell them in kind of confidence?
I told them in confidence, and they said they promised me they wouldn't tell anyone.
Okay.
But basically the impliance was if I didn't get help, then they'd be on the phone the next day.
Okay, I got you. So did you tell them basically then on
I told them
Thursday?
I told them the night before I went.
Okay, so Thursday night?
Yeah.
And then you took off Friday morning?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
But that's basically what they said was, you know, if you haven't gotten help Friday, then we're calling the police. We love you, but we're calling the police.
well, they just probably felt that they had a obligation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe a moral obligation or however they saw it, right?
yeah.
What medications are you on right now?
I'm taking, fluvoxamine. It's called Luvox, 200 milligrams. It's, anti-obsessional and an antidepressant.
Okay,
I'm taking 300 milligrams of Seroquel, which is, an antipsychotic. And they upped that when I was at KNH,
okay,
which has really helped clear my thinking.
has it? Good.
And then I'm taking a couple of blood pressure medications, and then I've got some loxapine for when I get really agitated.
Okay. And when we left the hospital, you had taken, I believe, some Ativan, is that right?
I took 2 milligrams of Ativan when we left the hospital,
Right.
which
Okay.
was, you guys noted the time, 1:30 or something like
About
that.
right. Yeah, exactly.
And I've had nothing since.
Okay. And I know that the doctor, Dr. Khan provided with a prescription that.
Yeah, and he also gave me 2 loxapines.
Yep.
And was very strict. I am not to take them till all the interviews are over, because they will start to interfere with my thinking,
Okay.
and then let me see the interview.
Yeah, exactly. And do you feel that you have a clear, sound mind right now?
Yes, I do.
Conversing with me in this room?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, I do.
And everything that you're telling me is the truth and the best that you can remember?
Yes, yeah.
I can appreciate where you're coming from as far as the work that you went through. Obviously, I've never been a nurse, and I've never worked in the profession that you did, but I could imagine how overwhelming it is.
Yeah,
Having a lot of responsibility, maybe not having the support of the administration or your supervisors, you know, just kind of go out and get it done, right?
yeah,
And that could be, I could see how that would be stressful, and I could see how that would drive you maybe into your addiction and to other things. But I want to just go over this document, if that's okay with you.
yeah.
Okay, would you be willing to do that with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and you
Yeah,
do your thing.
sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Absolutely not.
This is pretty, excuse me, major. I've only ever had parking tickets. I've never been arrested for anything.
Well, like I said, you're not under arrest
Oh,
right
I
now,
know.
but it is a very significant investigation, you're right.
I understand.
And like I said before, Beth, I do appreciate you speaking with us, and I can imagine that, does it feel like a weight off your shoulders?
Yes, yes,
You've been
it does.
carrying a burden for quite some time.
And I've tried to get help a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it takes a few attempts to finally commit to it, right?
Yeah, I had a pastor that I told, and he prayed over me and told me I'd be fine, and that was God's grace, and then
When was that?
that was, Halloween 2013. Yeah,
And you kind of divulged to what had happened to you to that point in your life with
yes,
involving these people?
yeah,
Okay, and where was that?
that was here in town.
Was it?
Do you want his name?
If you want to tell me, it's up to you.
That was, oh no, sorry, it wasn't, did I just say 2014?
Mhm.
It was 2013.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So before we get into this, I know that there's a statement which we have and that I've watched where you attended the police station in Toronto, at
Yeah.
52 Division, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And I honestly, I think it was Detective Hamilton, and I honestly can't remember the other detective's name, but now I know it started with an A. And you met with them for, I was gonna say about an hour and a half.
That was nuts.
Yeah. And at that point, you had in your possession, a photocopy of this document,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And you went through and you read it out,
Yes,
okay? And then following that, they started, with the first name on the list, and they wanted to just try and get a little bit more detail
yes,
of the involvement in each circumstance, in
Okay.
each death, right?
okay.
That's what I'd like to do today, and just get some more detail,
Okay,
okay? So,
it's a long list.
it is, but I think that you and I think we can get through it together.
Yeah, I'm sure we can, as long as you're patient with me.
I've got all the time in the world. I'm not going anywhere.
Because I'm physically comfortable, it's a nice chair, but
Yeah.
I'm not
Anytime you need to get up and wander around, like I said, if you want to take a break and have me leave and just kind of stretch your legs and whatever the case may be, you go ahead.
okay,
Okay, if you have to use the washroom at any time, just let me know.
all right,
Okay, because like I said, I'm here as long as we need to be.
okay,
Okay, and I'm not pressuring you to stay any longer than you want to, but I think if we just kind of sit down and go through this, like I said, we'll get through it together.
yes,
I'm a pretty patient person, and I'm here to just listen to what you have to tell me, okay?
okay,
Okay, and like I said, I appreciate it, okay? So, how about we just do this together? I'll just bring this over here, is that okay?
sure,
Okay, so I'm not gonna have you read through this entire document, because you already did that, right?
I have written it, I have read it, I have, lived it, so,
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. Silcox,
yes,
okay, September of 2007,
yeah. He's
okay?
the first one that died as a result of what I did.
Okay, and before you get into that, you have signed some kind of page numbers, all that kind of stuff on each of these documents, so we'll just go in order of how you've written it, okay? And I know that the detectives in Toronto kind of had this in their possession and just kind of got you to recall some things.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna keep it here because, I mean, you've already written this out, so what's on here is, we already know that. I just have some follow-up questions
Okay.
with regards to each circumstance. So, Mr. Silcox, it says here you were working a double shift from 3 till 7, right?
3 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Right, okay, and this was at Caressant Care,
Yes,
okay, in Woodstock,
yes.
okay. And tell me about your knowledge of James and your daily interactions during a shift with him.
I didn't see him every time, he wasn't always my patient. I just knew from what people had said that he would grab the nurse's breasts and buttocks, and he would say horribly inappropriate things about his wife, that now he was there, he was gonna fuck all of she was gonna fuck all of Woodstock, and just would say inappropriate things, and he did touch me inappropriately once.
And where was that?
On
your
my
body?
breast.
On your breast, okay. And were you alone in the room at that point?
Yes,
Okay. Who did?
yes.
Okay. So tell me about the night, was this the first person that you did this to?
That I tried, well, there were other people that I'd done it to who didn't die
Prior to James?
prior to James.
Okay, and are
He's
they
the first
documented on
one.
here?
He's the first one who died.
Right.
Back here?
But there's some other,
People who didn't die.
right, so I can't read that first name.
Clotilde Adriana?
Okay, so that was, I mean, they're both September
Oh, yeah.
2007, but that was
Yeah.
before James?
Yeah.
Okay. So was this your first attempt at overdosing these people on insulin?
Yes, Clotilde was.
Just Clotilde.
And I didn't really want her to die. I don't know, I was just angry and, had this sense inside me that she might be a person that God wanted back with him.
Okay. And is that feeling you're referring to that you had in your stomach
Yes.
at times?
Yeah.
Okay, is that the point, and I hate to get off topic here, but the point where you had these feelings in your stomach and almost that laughter after it happened,
Yeah.
is that the part that you didn't tell Dr. Khan?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
I told him about the laughter in my stomach, but not the feeling that this might be the person that God wants.
Okay.
Because I just sounded so stupid.
It's your feelings, right?
Mhm. I honestly felt like God wanted to use me. And Dr. Khan kept asking me, do you think God chose me for a special purpose? I kept saying no, because that did not sound like a special purpose,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just had a sense after my marriage broke up that God was going to use me for something. And then after a while I started to really wonder after some of the murders, if it was God or if it was the devil fooling me.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like you were doing the right thing for these people?
No. No. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't what was right for them.
So James, then, it was in the evening that this one took place, right?
Yeah.
It says here at about 9:30.
Yeah.
Run me through
About
portion of
9:30, I gave him a dose of 50 milligrams of insulin. He's not diabetic. So I used a borrowed insulin pen, borrowed insulin, and gave him an insulin shot. And at 3:30, the PSW, well, throughout the night he was yelling out, "I love you," and "I'm sorry," and not to me, but just you could hear him calling out in his room, and that's what he was calling out.
Mhm.
And then at 3:30, the PSWs came to me and said that he was gone.
Okay.
So I did what we're supposed to do. I went and listened to his heart and chest, called the doctor, called the family because that's what they wanted. Family came in and sit with him for a while.
Mhm.
Doctor came in and said that his cause of death was from an embolism due to his post-hip. He'd had hip surgery.
Okay.
Doctor ruled it embolism due to post-hip surgery.
All right. Who do you think he was talking to when he was yelling out, "I love you"?
I thought it might be his family.
Okay.
I really did. And when they came in and talked to me, they wanted to know if he'd said anything.
All right.
So I told them, and I was so ashamed.
Yeah.
So ashamed. Yeah.
When you were speaking with the family.
Yeah.
And is that the family that kind of commended you for the work that you had done? And
Yes, and
spoke to
I've
you,
been
how much
there
they
for
appreciated
him,
things?
and yes.
How'd that make you feel?
Awful. Absolutely awful.
How did you deal with it?
I just went home, went to bed. You know, I felt awful. Maybe I fought with my girlfriend. Did some exercising, you know.
Yeah.
Played some games on the computer and just tried to forget about it.
Did you have a problem sleeping that night at all, or anything like that, or did you?
Well, I was working nights, so I was,
During the day then?
I would say I tossed and turned a bit, yeah. Felt pretty bad. And I didn't want to see the family again. So I tried to make sure I wasn't working when they came to pick up his stuff, and I wasn't.
And what room, do you remember, like a room number, or just, like you
No,
said,
it was down in our phone.
the wing, yeah. Okay. Where did you get the insulin from for James, for Mr. Silcox? You said you had taken some insulin, and where did you get those?
The insulin was kept in a fridge in the medication room.
Okay.
We had 2 medication rooms. Insulin was kept in a fridge in the medication room, and extra pens were kept in the drawer. So you could just say somebody who had someone admitted and you needed a pen in a hurry. So you just put the insulin in the pen and put the needle on and dial up the dose and give it.
And how was that documented to know that, so that Caressant Care would know that you were taking that insulin?
They didn't keep track of insulin.
Okay. So it was just something that was available for the nurses' use when they knew that it was appropriate for the certain patients?
Yes, now each patient has their own insulin,
Right.
and maybe somebody may have noticed that a lot of insulin was missing if a lot was used, but I was always careful to use different people.
Okay. Different people's insulin?
Insulin, yes.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Silcox, then, where did you inject the insulin into his body?
I'm not really sure. I'm going to say his arm or his torso.
And did he know what was going on at that point?
Not really.
Was he a verbal patient? Like, could he
Oh,
converse
yeah.
with you and
He
communicate?
didn't really converse. He did a lot of yelling out. I don't really remember him reacting when I gave it to him.
So he didn't react?
I don't remember him reacting, no.
Okay. Would he maybe just think it's a regular portion of his day and
Probably.
receiving the medications that he so required?
Probably because they had dementia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can remember about Mr. Silcox?
His wife and daughter loved him a lot.
Mm-hmm. And how does that make you feel?
Crappy.
Yeah.
Horrible. Like I said, he could be a bit of a handful, but, you know, he ate and drank normally, he took his pills when you told him to, so nothing else I can really remember about him. But this is, 9 years ago, so,
It's a while ago.
yeah.
How long after, when did you break up with your husband?
I broke up with him.
Was it August 2007?
Oh, no. I broke up with him in, end of January, beginning of February 2007.
Okay, so it was quite some time till September until you actually...
Yeah.
All right, I guess.
By that time, I was in a new relationship with a woman.
Okay. Who was that?
Her name was Maureen.
Did you ever disclose to her what you were doing?
No, absolutely not.
So you just kind of went about your thing with Mr. Silcox,
Yeah.
went home that day, did your kind of some exercising, computer games, went to sleep. Did you work again that next day?
I don't remember.
Don't remember. Do you remember who you would have been working with on that occasion?
No.
No?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You want to get up and stretch?
I just do a lot of fidgeting.
Okay, that's okay. Hey, you're not bothering me. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
If I need something, I'll do it.
Okay. Gotcha. Do you remember who your supervisor would have been at that point?
Well, that would be Helen Crombie.
That was the head nurse?
Yeah, she was always, like, whoever was on as the nurse was the charge nurse.
Okay.
So I was the charge nurse, and at night, so as the charge nurse, from 3 to 11, I was in charge of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 PSWs, and I was and then there was 2 other wings, and so at night, as the charge nurse, I was responsible to look after the RPN on the other side. I'd be a resource for her.
Okay.
There were 4 PSWs on that side and 4 PSWs on my side, so 9 people.
Okay.
And then Mrs. Crombie, of course, she wasn't around with me.
Okay. She's for Katie's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's who we all answered to. She was, her and the executive director, Brenda, I don't remember her last name. I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna pass gas because of Julie.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. So, as far as Mr. Silcox goes then, besides what you were feeling in your stomach, and besides that you thought that this was a purpose that you were given on, from your relationship forward after breaking up with your husband, right?
Yeah.
You indicated that he wasn't a very nice man.
No, he wasn't.
Is that a portion of what happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wonder if that's a portion of how I chose him. And afterwards I did feel a release and a relief. Like a relief of pressure.
Okay. Because throughout this document, and as we go through it, a lot of these people, you kind of describe them as not very nice people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's a tendency or a pattern that we see as far as, is that why you chose these people?
Yeah, I'm not, it might be, but I also know I just felt like they were the ones.
Right.
I had a feeling inside that they were the ones. So, one afternoon I was working with him and he did grab me. And again, I got that feeling inside that this is his time to go. So I gave him an overdose of insulin after supper. And I believe he died the next day.
And what was your shift that, do you remember what shift
It
you were
was
working at that
3
point?
to 11.
3 p.m.?
Yeah, to 11 p.m.
Till 11 p.m., so like
So
an afternoon shift.
he died when I wasn't there.
Okay. The next person on your list is Helen Matheson.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go from September or October to 07.
Yeah.
And then Helen was 2011.
Yeah.
What happened between those years?
I think you'll see that
Was there some attempts? In 08, 09?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helen, I don't remember a lot about. She was very quiet, very determined. Just seemed to be waiting to die. Again, I had that feeling that, this is the one. And I made a bit of a fuss about her that night because she was very lucid. And we talked about how much she liked blueberry pie and ice cream.
Okay.
So on my break, I went to Walmart. I got a small blueberry pie and some ice cream and brought it to her, and she ate 3 or 4 bites. And then that night I overdosed her. Because, like I said, I had that feeling that it was her time to go. And
what do you mean by that? Do you think she was towards the end of her life at that point?
I know that she was the person to go next.
Okay. And that was in your mind, in your stomach? Where was that feeling?
In my chest area. And after I did it, I got that laughter.
Okay. When would you feel that laughter? Would you feel it right after you injected it, or once the person passed away?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. And Helen was, you did hear that she wasn't a diabetic?
No.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how much insulin would it take to kill someone
See, I
that
don't
wasn't a
know.
diabetic, or
I don't know.
you don't know that?
No. So it's kind of hit and miss.
You didn't know that as a nurse, that this amount, or?
No, there is no set amount.
Okay. And I'm just, I just
Yeah.
simply just don't know that
No,
answer.
there
so
is
that's
no
why-
set amount.
Okay. All right, so different people would react differently to different amounts, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would obviously make a difference if they were diabetic or not a diabetic?
Yeah. I believe she died the next day.
And it said, I don't know here, the doctor declared her to be palliative, and she died 2 days later.
2 days later. Okay.
And do you remember how much insulin that you had given Helen?
60? I don't know.
And where would you have gotten that from?
From the same supplies we
Same.
always get it.
Okay. Do you remember where Helen was in Caressant Care?
Yes, she was on the south wing, and probably about 4 doors down from the nurse's station, in a double room on the right-hand side. If you were facing the end, she was on the right-hand side.
You don't say a lot of negative things about Helen here. Did you get along with her okay? Did she ever do anything to harm you, or?
No, she was very quiet. It was just, I got that feeling that she's next, it's her time to go.
And her health at that point, what was her diagnosis?
She was, I couldn't tell you her diagnosis, just that she didn't get out of bed a lot, and she had to be fed her food and fed her pills. So she was near her end of life.
How old do you think Helen was when this happened?
I'd say about 85 or 86.
And do you remember what doctor were you there when she passed away 2 days later?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? So you wouldn't be which doctor pronounced her, you wouldn't
No.
be too sure?
Once I gave the insulin overdose, unless I was there for the shift I died, I just kind of laid low and didn't, have anything to do with them.
So if you issued an insulin injection to somebody, Helen for instance, do you remember where Helen was injected?
Probably her arm.
Okay. So do you remember if she had a reaction at all?
A reaction?
Did you know if she confronted you in what you were doing at all? Was she able to,
She might have said, ow.
was she used to getting insulin or needles?
I don't know
or-
if she was.
Alright. But she wasn't combative or she didn't confront you and ask you what you were doing?
No.
Okay. Alright. And you said once you gave them their insulin,
I tried to stay away from it. Sometimes I was very interested to see what was happening. I would just try to stay away from it.
Okay. Would you ever go back into their rooms while they were still alive to see kind of how they were progressing through the?
If they were my charge, yes, I had to.
Okay. Even though you had attempted to take their lives?
Yeah.
Okay. And you would, what kind of symptoms would they show? Is it different for everyone, or?
Well, usually they'd get very diaphoretic, red. They could lose consciousness, they'd shake. Some people, one person had a seizure. I think it was just one person. 2 people stroked right out.
Right after receiving the?
Not right after, but they stroked out.
Over time?
Actually 3 people, because they believe James stroked out as well, so.
Mr. Silcox?
Mr. Silcox, yeah.
Okay. Okay. November 2011. Mary Zerwinski, is that?
Yeah.
How you recall her last name being pronounced?
Yeah.
And this was at Caressant Care?
Yeah,
Okay, and you said that she wasn't a diabetic, but she had dementia?
that's right.
Okay.
But she could talk and communicate a lot.
Mary could.
Yeah, she was feisty.
Was she?
Yeah. She didn't hurt the nurses or anything. She was just very outspoken and feisty, and one night she said, I'm gonna die tonight.
Mary said that?
Yeah. And I said, oh. And she said, yeah, why don't you get me into the deathbed so I can die? And I said, are you sure? And she said, yeah, put me to bed, I'm gonna die. So I said, okay, and I went to the other nurse that was working with me, and, she said, oh, okay, well, let's put her in the palliative care room if that's what you want. So we did, and then I thought, well, she must be the next one. I had a feeling inside of me she must be the next one. Because she was saying she was gonna die, but there was no signs she was gonna die. So I gave her an overdose of insulin. And she became palliative and she died. I think it's been a couple of days, I think.
Yeah, since she's died, the next afternoon is what you've made a note about here, but, perfect. Sure. There you go.
Which one has the vodka in it?
No answer from him. So, where was that in relation to where she was? Like, where was Mary in Caressant
She
Care?
was down the south wing, couple of rooms down from down from the nurse's office. And, we did put her in the palliative bed.
And would that be a decision that you would make, or someone else would have to make for you?
Together we made it.
Okay. But a supervisor wouldn't have to say, okay,
No.
go ahead and...
No, we had enough autonomy that if we thought someone was, palliative, we could call the doctor, tell him what was going on, move the person to the palliative bed, and get orders for palliative care.
And do you remember how much insulin you would have given Mary?
I think she may have been the first person that I gave long-acting and short-acting to together.
Okay.
I think.
And can you just, well, besides the actual obvious, in the title of the actual drug itself, long-acting and short-acting, what was the biggest difference between the two?
One drops your blood sugar right away, the other starts working through your body and dropping it gradually over a long period of time, but it just keeps dropping it.
Okay. And what would the combination of those two do together? Did you know, or?
I didn't know for sure, but I figured it would be much stronger than just a short acting.
Right. Okay. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
You would know more than I would, but, do you remember where you injected Mary?
Probably her arm.
In her arm.
And I told her it was for her pain.
And you know if she was in a single room, double room?
Well, we had moved her from the double room to the palliative care room, right kitty corner from the nurse's office.
So where did you inject her, in the palliative bed or
in
her?
the palliative bed.
Okay. And she had vocalized to you that she thought that she was going to die that night?
Yeah. So I thought, okay, she must be the one. When I gave the insulin, I got that feeling inside and the laughter.
Has she ever said something to you before about wanting to die?
Not like that. No, she was like, I want to die tonight. I'm being dead, I'm gonna die.
And that was new to you?
Yes.
Do you remember what shift you were working?
Afternoon, 3 to 11.
Okay. And about what time do you think you would have moved her into the palliative bed and injected her?
Might have been after supper, so about 7.
And had Mary ever done anything to harm you or
No.
upset you in any way?
No. She was fun.
Okay. She was funky and outspoken.
Yeah.
Do you remember being present when she died?
I don't think I was.
All right. And therefore probably wouldn't be a part of checking the boxes?
No, I didn't do the boxes for her.
Who was there to see Mary on a regular basis? Who came to see Mary?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Do you know if she had family?
Maybe a son, but I don't know.
And Mary being, we'll refer to her as your fourth victim.
Yes.
The fourth person that, that you were successful in these insulin injections. How did your emotions start to feel as it kept continuing?
I kept having a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt. Mary, well, as you'll see, after Mary was Gladys, and after Gladys there was a period of 2 years where I didn't do it. 3 years where I didn't do it.
What was going on in your life at that point?
I was trying very, very hard to get close to God, to make sure that this wasn't Him, and to just live my life, read the Bible, go to church, and not do that, because I didn't want to do it anymore. So I tried very hard. I'm still using a little bit.
The hydromorphs?
Yeah.
And alcohol?
Yeah.
What was your drink of choice?
Rye.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't say it like that, but I make it sound like it's, yeah, rye.
Would you?
Rye and Bailey's.
Yeah.
Yeah, pop a rye and pop down some water.
Yeah.
Yeah, rye and water.
Okay. And typically, how much would you drink in a week?
In a week, probably about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like shots of rye or?
Drinks. I don't know.
Okay.
On the shot.
Okay.
If you're gonna go by shots, I know if they're doing drinks, so like 3 times 9, 27.
So like you'd be drinking triples.
Yeah.
How would that make you feel in combination with the hydromorphs and?
I never did it with the hydromorphs.
No, it was either one or the other.
It was either one or the other.
Okay.
The booze is more just for when I didn't have the hydromorphs. And if I was going out, but I didn't go out with people. I always went out mostly by myself and I took scratch and win tickets and took booze and
Yeah.
I would drink and do my scratch win.
Yeah. Okay. As significant and disturbing as this may be to the people that are going to hear this and learn about this, obviously there's a lot of families that we're going to contact
Yes.
and speak to. Although this wasn't, and I hate to classify it into different areas, but these weren't necessarily violent deaths. Like, do you think these people died peacefully? Did they struggle at all?
All the people you've talked about so far died peacefully, in my opinion. And I am sorry. I'm sorry for what the families went through at the time, and I'm extremely sorry for what they're going to go through. It's awful.
If you could say something to them, what would you say to them?
What can you say to them that would matter? I'm sorry isn't enough. I should have gotten help sooner. I took something from you that was precious and it was taken too soon. I honestly believed at the time that God wanted me to do it, but I know now that's not true. And if I could take it back, if I could get help sooner, I would have. And I'm sorry.
And like I said, I admire you for at least, whether it took 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it took for you to finally get help, that's a big step.
Oh, thank you.
Right? I mean, you could have been in this situation and taken this to your grave.
Yes.
And who would have known? Right?
That's what I was told to do by a lawyer.
What's that?
Take it to my grave and not tell anybody.
So you've confided in a lawyer as well about this?
A long time ago, yeah.
Was it after all of these people?
It was in 2014 before
Before you went to Welland? Or,
yes,
sorry, to
the Welland
rehab center?
Yeah, to the rehab center.
So you spoke to a lawyer?
I spoke to a lawyer, and she was the one who told me to get out. I need to go to the bathroom.
No problem. No problem. Just for the record, and so it's documented, I have 6:26. Let's take a break, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Remember where you're going? Okay.
dying, it seems like it takes longer than it does if you're around, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah, so. I'm sorry that you don't know.
Thank you. As far as Gladys goes, do you remember if you worked the next day to learn about Gladys's death, or?
I think I worked 2 days later.
Okay.
I think I worked the day after her death, whenever that was.
Okay. What would play through your mind on your days where you inject, so Gladys, for instance, you inject her, you work nights, it says here, so
Yeah.
11 till 7. You did this at 5 o'clock. You go home and carry it on about, if you have 1, 2, 3 days off, whatever
Yeah.
the case was. What was going through your mind on those days off? Were you thinking, when's Gladys going to die?
I would wonder if she had died. I would wonder, you know, if this would be the time I would get caught. You know, what was I going, every time I walked in after somebody who passed away, I always wondered, is this the day I'm going to get caught?
What kind of consequences play through your head? Like if damn, I'm caught, the gig's up. What kind of consequences do you think you're going to face if that were to happen back in 2011?
Fired, jail, no more nursing license. That's exactly what I'm looking at now. Although I took myself out instead of being fired, but
right.
Jail and no more nursing license.
As far as in 2011 though, and having that feeling, like when did those feelings start to say in your mind, like, I wonder if this is the time I'm going to get caught? Did it happen right at Mr. Silcox, or did it?
Yeah, probably every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Gladys, do you think, did she have a reaction when you injected her?
She fought a little bit.
Did she?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like she struggled around, so I kind of fought on her leg that I could do where she couldn't reach me and pinch me.
Okay. Would that be something typical if you were giving her medication, she'd like you to pinch?
Pinch, scratch, feel up her mouth.
Is that common in patients?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And, like even the PSWs who had to change her product, sometimes she'd fight them and scratch them and pinch them and twist their hair and, yeah.
Do you think that played into any part of your actions with Gladys? Particularly with Gladys?
I don't know, I think some of it did, you know, the stubbornness and stuff, and, yeah, just kind of, okay, you're the next one to go. But again, there was always that red surging that I identified as God telling me, this is the one. You know, this is how you work for me.
You have a portion on the 4th page here, and it's titled People Who Didn't Die. What can you tell me about?
Okay, Clotilda Adriano. She was the first person I ever gave extra insulin to.
Okay.
I think I gave her 40, and I just, again, there was that surging, but it wasn't so much that I wanted her to die, it was more let's see what happens. And I did that to her on more than one occasion.
Okay.
Albino was...
Sorry, she was prior to Mr. Silcox, right?
Yes.
So this was the very first person that you injected with insulin?
Yes.
Okay, and we're at Caressant Care?
At Caressant Care.
And her room was where?
Her room was in the east wing, second door on the left. Okay. Then east wing, first door on the left was your sister Albina. She was diabetic.
Okay.
She was October 2007.
Sorry, that was her sister?
Clotilda and Albina were sisters, yes.
Oh, okay.
Then there was Wayne. He was on the north wing. He had dementia. He was diabetic. He could be uncooperative. And I gave him a large overdose because I thought it was his turn to go.
That was Wayne?
That was Wayne.
And sorry, how old was, sorry, and I hate to go back, I just have a few more questions. How old was Clotilda?
Clotilda was 90 or so.
Okay, and her sister?
Albina was probably 82.
And did they have family that would come and visit?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Very much so.
Who would that be that would come to visit?
Clotilda, I think it was her daughters, and Albina was her husband.
Okay. And long-acting, short-acting?
Short-acting at that point.
In 07, you were still doing short-acting. Okay, and do you remember the doses
Oh,
that you would have given?
wait a second. What would they get at night? It was long-acting, because it was what they got at night. With those two, it was their own insulin, just extra dose. So
Okay.
probably 20, 30 to 40. 30 to 40 extra.
And then Wayne, how old was Wayne, sorry?
I'd say 60.
Okay, oh, so he was younger.
He had developmental challenges, as well as dementia, as well as being diabetic, as well as being handful. He wanted to die, so again, that one night I just felt that surging, but he didn't die. I think
How would you know he wanted to die?
He would say it sometimes, that he just wanted to go.
Where was Wayne in the Caressant Care?
He was in room 8, which is the men's ward down at the end.
So 8 or A?
8.
The number?
8 north. 8 north.
Alright, and would that be roommates in there as well?
Yes.
Do you know who he was roomed with?
No.
Alright, and Mike with Huntington's disease?
That was 2009.
What is that disease?
It robs you of your body and you still have your mind. You get progressively more agitated, you get progressively more psychotic, and you're in a wheelchair and you've got all these movements that you can't control. It's a horrible disease.
And how old was Mike?
He was 54, and again, one night I just felt that surging and I thought, now this must be God, because this man is not enjoying his life at all. So I gave him a large amount of insulin. I think I gave him 90 total. She often said she didn't want to be there. And so one night I gave her an insulin overdose. But she survived because the nurse that came on next went to check on her to do something else and noticed that she was sweating and took her blood sugar and saved her life.
Okay. And how did these other people survive?
It just didn't, Clotilda and Albina, they found them to have low blood sugar, and they gave them stuff to raise it. And Wayne and Mike, they just survived. It was never found out.
Was there anything to do with the gender, male or female, that this influenced the effect of it, or was it just, again, just dependent on the makeup of their body and their health? And
yeah, not that I know of, if it has anything to do with gender.
How come you haven't named Beverly, but you're not sure what her name is?
Because I'm not sure if it was Bev or B or...
I gotcha. Okay. And that was the only one you had given through the PICC line?
Yes.
Did you know what the result would be compared to a direct injection into an arm or a leg or a thigh?
I'd never done it before. I never looked at it. I had no idea.
Okay.
She went to sleep fairly quickly and I left, but when I checked the next day to see how she was through the next nurse, there was no change.
How old was she?
She was 63, 64.
And what was her diagnosis as far as her health?
She was diabetic and she had large ulcers on her leg. And she also had a severe infection.
How does that make you feel going through all that?
Awful.
Do you feel like there's a burden lifted off your shoulders?
Yes, I've done the right thing.
Do you feel just a sense of relief?
Yes, and now I know that it wasn't God, and I'm ashamed of myself that happened, but I also think that it was mental health. You know, I think I was in my right mind, or I would have been able to tell. I mean, I was raised to believe in God. I was raised from a baby to go to Sunday school, so how could I get such a strong feeling that this is what God wanted, unless it was something wrong in my head?
I know we've talked about what you would say to the families and so on and so forth, but again, I feel terrible for the people that are going to find out in the days and weeks to come about what actually happened to their loved ones, right?
I do. I feel horrible. Okay. The very first person I ever disclosed it to was another girlfriend at the time, her name was, that was after I killed a couple of people, and, she told me not to do it again or she was gonna turn me into the police.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you, 2008, I think. And then, 2011, when I decided to stop killing, my friend, I told her what I'd been doing and that I had stopped. And then, I told my pastor. And then after that, I told in 2014, after Art passed away, I went on a holiday, and that's when I really decided that this had to stop. And so I told a friend, and he lives in BC. Then I told, when I came back, I got advice from a lawyer. And then while I was in the Toronto, it was in CAMH, well, I told my friend, before everyone, I told my cousin, I told my friend, and I told my friend, and then while I was in CAMH, I told someone who I thought was a friend. They turned around and called the police to make sure that it had really been dealt with. And I understand that he thought he was doing the right thing. I understand that, but he had said, oh, I won't tell anybody, and I was using him as a resource for support, and he turned around and,
Right.
when I'd already, I'd already shared it, so why would he call the police?
So why do you think that none of these people confronted police?
Maybe they didn't believe me, I don't know. Maybe they thought I was doing more something than the patient wanted done,
And as far as believing you, are these close people to you that you've shared other deep, dark secrets with maybe over time?
I would say deep dark secrets with lots of stuff, yeah.
Because this is a pretty serious thing.
Yes, it is. It's horrible.
And telling
It's the worst thing.
these people, I just find it hard to believe that no one would come forward until, which is 5, 6 people down the road, right?
Yeah.
Of having knowledge of it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And everything that you're telling us is the truth.
Yes, it is.
There's
Yes, sir.
nothing that's been fabricated,
No, sir. No.
and you're sure about that.
I know so.
Wettlaufer waived her right to a preliminary hearing and confessed to all charges in court on June 1. On June 26, she was sentenced to 8 concurrent life terms in prison, with no possibility of parole for 25 years.